Welcome back to Umphang, Thailand. I'm back on the scooter today, and I'm just heading out for a drive, I believe through the Umphang River Valley. Yesterday I climbed up to, or I pretty much rode up to a viewpoint, which was really nice, and it looked down over the town of Umphang, and you could clearly see the way Umphang is sitting in this valley between hill ranges. And what I want to do today is get on the scooter and drive into that valley below that viewpoint and basically just go exploring. I don't have any particular destination in mind. I don't even know what the roads are like, but I'm just going to drive into that valley and just spend a few hours exploring that area and seeing what's out there. First, I have to get out of Umphang, though. So we have to find the magic combination of roads that will get me out of town. But considering how small this town is, that shouldn't be that hard. Ooh. Pretty quiet out here, of course, farming countryside, and I've passed a few more resorts, tourism resorts out on this road. And the road is still somewhat paved, but in quite a few places the cement and stone has worn away and become quite bumpy. One thing I've always liked about staying in one place for a long time is you get to see everything in different seasons. If you come somewhere on a brief holiday, you sort of see what the place looks like, and then you think, well, that's what it looks like. But of course, if you stay there for a while, or people that live here, they know that it changes quite dramatically, from season to season. Right now, for example, it is the hot and dry season, so these fields off to my right are rather brown and barren, not that attractive if you're thinking in terms of postcard views, things like that. But if you come back here in a few months after the rains, they plant the rice, and these fields will then be, full of green rice growing, and this whole area will be completely transformed. There's the field that I'm talking about, and I actually stopped here mainly because of the caribou. They're all hanging out in the shade from that tree, and they're probably looking forward to the rainy season as well. And they can get back in the water from time to time, where they're extremely happy caribou. But yeah, this whole area is quite brown right now, but in a different month it could be just a brilliant green everywhere you look. So it kind of depends what time of the year you visit. I was just thinking that long ago, I mean, really long ago, I think before I'd ever left Canada even for the first time, and I was reading travel books, one of the very first books I read, and one that made a big impression on me, was a book written by a girl from Canada, and she came to Thailand on a Rotary Club exchange program, and she stayed with a local family somewhere in Thailand. I can't remember the name of the book, I can't remember the name of the author, and I can't remember where she was situated, but she stayed with a local family, and she was quite young at the time. You know, Rotary Club exchanges are youth exchanges, so of course she didn't have a lot of experience being away from home. And I remember that book so clearly because she had a very difficult time at the beginning. Now, when I think about coming to Thailand and being here, everything is just, you know, relatively easy and stress-free. There's nothing particularly challenging about just being here as a simple tourist. But for this girl, 30 or 40 years ago, however long it was, first time away from home, she flew around the world, came to Thailand, and the family that she stayed with seemed very foreign to her, and the conditions dealing with the family, the language barrier, and the different ways that people were relating to each other hit her really hard. And I remember upon her arrival at the home of her host family, she eventually found herself alone in her room, and then she just broke down in tears, as she described in the book, because she was just so overwhelmed by the experience that all she could do was sit in her room and cry, because she found it to be such a difficult experience. But for some reason, that book stuck in my mind all these years, and I always think of that book when I come to Thailand. I stopped here, in fact, because I'm looking at a fairly scenic spot in the road, looking ahead of me, and I was wondering whether it might have been a little village like this where this Rotary Club exchange student found herself. And there's the small village, hamlet, whatever you want to call it, nestled amongst those trees up ahead. Looks very picturesque, even in the middle of the hot season with the brown fields. This might be an interesting detour. There's a road leading into this hamlet. I'll just drive in and take a look around. That is one great advantage to having a scooter, of course, that you can do things like this on impulse. You feel like zipping into a spot to check it out. You just go in and your scooter carries you in. Nice bridge. Very beautiful spot up here. There's the river down below. And that's something that always jumps out at me too. Everywhere you go, villages and rivers go hand in hand. Every time you find yourself at a village, very nearby, there's almost always a river of some kind. Because, of course, people build their houses next to rivers. There's something interesting down below. You see those, what are those? That couldn't possibly be bamboo, is it? They're huge. But whatever they are, they're soaking in the river, and I assume they're soaking them for a reason. I might head down there on my scooter to take a closer look at that. There's the river on the other side. Okay, I hopped off my scooter for a minute just to hang out here at this little hamlet. The bridge just behind me. I'm just going to walk down to the river first and take a closer look at the bridge and the river from down there. And the village is just ahead of me. There it is there. Look at that, looks great. Looks like this is kind of a new bridge, right? I'm assuming that this cement and brick structure is part of an old bridge, a much lower bridge. You can see a matching set foundation on the other side there, and then they replaced it with this new bridge. But they left the old structure still in place. And here, those, oh, what is going on here? Yeah, they're, what are they exactly? Okay, I guess, yeah, it is bamboo, right? What else could it be? But from up on the bridge, they look huge. Here they look a little bit smaller, so maybe that's just large, fully grown bamboo, I guess. And whatever they're going to do with it, they're treating them by soaking them in river water for a while. I'm not sure what river this is. I want to call it the Umphang River, but I don't know for sure that it is the Umphang River. I can't remember. There's two rivers here. Umphang sits at a point where two rivers meet, but I can't remember the name of the other river. Nice. And there's the bridge up above me. It's what you call a babbling brook. And there's something going on down there. I'm wondering whether that's some kind of a fishing net or fishing line. Just gonna go take a look. this is a very handy spot. Oh, you could actually, if you had a truck, I guess, you could drive right through the water. But when I first saw this lane, I just assumed that they could drive their truck down here, go out into the water a little bit and wash, like a place where they can wash their trucks, or maybe fill up tanks with water, stuff like that. Very scenic spot. And here's the wire that I was talking about. I don't see anything attached to it, though. I don't see any netting or fishing lines. I just see those blue ribbons. So I have no idea what it's for. That's always the way with me. Every time I go anywhere, all I do is wander around and wonder about things like, what does this do? And what's this for? And what's this made of? How do they make that? And of course, with the language barrier, you can't really ever find out the answer to these questions. Maybe Sherlock Holmes could use his deductive reasoning and figure out, why would there be a wire across this river? I mean, all I can think of is fishing. That's the most obvious answer, but I don't see any fishing lines or fishing nets attached. And there's my scooter parked up there on the road. I think I'm going to leave my scooter there and just walk into the village, take a look around. Very interesting place. All the houses are made out of wood, sitting up on stilts. Check out the construction here. And very handy, you know. It's like having this space underneath your house. You can park your scooter, probably store farming tools and even grain that they harvest. Firewood you can see on the other side there. Keep firewood dry. Very cool. There's another really typical house over there. Yeah, the main workhorse in this part of the world, of course, is the scooter and motorcycle, and after that, pickup trucks. You see the roads full of pickup trucks because all the farmers need them for their work. So out here, it's pretty rare. It would be pretty rare to see a car. Everybody would have a pickup truck. I'm wondering whether I'm looking at the lookout point. I think I am, actually. Yeah, that's where I would have been yesterday, up on that hill over there. So that's where I was yesterday, looking down on this river valley. And of course, this is the other workhorse you see quite often in this part of the world. The local tractor. These are very cool. I don't know if, do you see them in other parts of the world, or is this unique to Southeast Asia? Just got the big engine on the front, and then it's almost like a chopper, you know, like a motorcycle chopper design. Very cool. But that's the local tractor. One thing I just noticed is that the village dogs are not worried about me. Even walking around Umphang, the local dogs kind of barked at me and chased me just like they did in Mesot all the time. But here in this village, I've passed by a number of sleeping dogs. and dogs trotting past, and none of them paying any attention to me at all, because they don't feel like they have to protect their territory from the foreigner with a GoPro. Just heading down the slope back down to the riverside over here. Just wanted to see if I can get a clearer view of the surroundings and maybe that lookout point. No, actually it's worse from down here because I'm surrounded by trees now. But still, yeah, this is an interesting little operation here. They are making charcoal. Charcoal is a mysterious thing now that I think about it. I've always just taken it for granted. But basically, of course, charcoal is it's something you burn to produce heat to cook with, and yet you create it by burning wood. So it doesn't seem logical, is it? Like you burn wood and then it turns into charcoal, which you then burn. So what is the advantage to, why not just sell the original wood and burn the original wood? You know what I mean? By burning off all that wood, aren't you already losing a bunch of energy that you could use? But apparently not. Charcoal is preferable to wood for some reason. As I've been standing here pondering the mysteries of charcoal, a family of caribou, or cattle, I guess, came down to the river for a drink. You could hear them sneak. They couldn't sneak up on me because they're wearing, one of them anyway is wearing cowbells. And there's another wire going across this part of the river with orange ribbons on it. Perhaps that wire is meant to gauge the height of the water, like if the water level starts to rise. No. Maybe. No idea. Yeah, let's leave the river behind, go back up into the village. I wonder if these houses have running water. I'm guessing that they do, but I don't know for sure. If they do have running water, it's probably coming from large tanks up above in the hills somewhere, some kind of a water reservoir. See right ahead of me there in the courtyard of this house, got their family dog just sleeping. He looked up as I walked by, but oh, there again, just ignoring me. That's how I like my dogs. Just let me go about my business. Yeah, another huge advantage to having houses up on stilts like that is that underground area is a place to hang out in the shade, right? Get out of the sun. I just noticed underneath this house, quite a large one. So a group of children playing. And I think there's always often hammocks strung between the poles too. So people can just hang out underneath the house here, out of the sun. The road I'm following is starting to climb a little bit out of the village. I'm not going to go too far. I just want to sort of get my bearing. Maybe get a little bit of altitude. Look down on the village. I think I heard somebody snorting and grunting over here. Let's go check out one of the local inhabitants. What's going on in here? Ah. Hi there, buddies. There. Whenever I'm in a place like this, I can't help but think of the old expression, mad dogs and Englishmen. Because I'm always out here. I mean, it's, well, 11 o'clock in the morning. I was going to say it's, noon or 1 o'clock, middle of the day, when the sun is at its hottest. And I'm out here walking around in the hot sun. But, of course, the local people here, they would have been awake long ago at the crack of dawn, get all their work done when it's nice and cool. And like sensible people, they're all inside or underneath the house, relaxing in the shade. They get out of the sun and emerge later this afternoon when the sun goes down. But not me. Okay, there's a little bit of a view of this. At least you can see where the village is situated. And again, the viewpoints that I visited yesterday, up there somewhere. Here's another nice vantage point. And another time of year when all these fields are full of new rice crops, it would be stunning to stand here, especially if the skies were clear and the air wasn't hazy. But I find it quite attractive even now. Hills are always so tricky because you can't resist as a human being, right? I have no idea what's up here, and it's hard work climbing up this road. It's quite steep, but I want to go a bit farther. I just want to get to the top, see what's on the other side, and then I can turn around and go back down again. That's how hills get you. You never quite know when you're going to get to the top. They trick you into going much further than you planned. I wonder if this gives a nice view here. As always, I also can't help but think about the economics of living here. Is it difficult to make a living as a farmer here right now? But again, when you walk through the village, to my eyes, you would see what might seem quite a simple house, but then underneath will be a brand new, somewhat fancy pickup truck. So whoever lives there makes enough money, they can afford to buy and operate a brand new pickup truck. And they always have motorcycles too. So they have enough money to buy some of the finer things in life. I also wonder about firewood. I saw a lot of firewood in piles underneath those houses, but there aren't a lot of trees on the hillsides here. And I wonder if they've reached a point where they're, where they've chopped down all the usable trees and they're starting to run out. That's a classic problem worldwide, isn't it? In rural districts. Okay, steep road. Another nice vantage point. Look at that, beautiful. And I assume when I get back on my scooter, I'll continue along this road. You can see it, just a white ribbon over there. It goes on for a few more kilometers. The hill is enticing me to go further. Feels like I'm almost at the top. Of course, once I go around this corner, I could find out that it just keeps on going. But I think I'm getting close to the top of this hill. I made it. I think I've reached the top of this particular hill. It doesn't seem to go up any higher from here anyway. Here's the view from up here. In this field, looking around me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 50, maybe 60 tree trunks. So they're all burned because I imagine at some point they cut down the trees and then then at one point they burned the remains of a crop, and that's what burned the stumps that are left. But I remember reading quite a few things or hearing news stories from around the world about how it's like a domino effect, isn't it? Where you cut down the trees, and then once the trees are gone, the rain erodes the land much faster, and then the whole hillside disappears and they lose a lot of farming land. So it's a good idea to keep the trees because it keeps the hillsides from washing away. Wow, okay, this must be a beautiful vantage point in the rice season. It'll be gorgeous up here. So, yeah, looking around this field again, all you see are burned tree stumps. And since the path or this road is not really going up or down much, I'm just following along the top of this, along the crest of this hill. I thought I'd continue on for a little bit farther. I've been checking my video from time to time, and I think the audio is working okay. I'm not getting regular audio dropouts. That at least I can't hear them when I'm replaying the video on my GoPro. But nice. Get a sense of the farming countryside up in the hills. Yeah, you can see that this road goes on for quite a distance. It goes ahead of me here, then along this ridge, then turns and follows the next ridge, and it probably goes far into these hillsides. And that's where those tractors, the two-wheeled, what did I call them? Not dragster, choppers. They have like chopper handlebars. The tractor choppers would come in very handy because they'd have to drive a long way to get to their fields. And some farmer has a little shelter here to store some of his tools of the trade. Yeah, make sure nobody's in here. I don't want to disturb people. But a hammock, sleeping mat, and over there a pesticide sprayer. Farmer comes out here to work all day. A place like this is a nice spot to get away from the sun. I assume this would be for water. Take out into the field. He's got his own sort of army style. Oh, lunch here too. He's got a plate, metal, like tin plate, and there's actually food in there, rice. So somewhere around here is a farmer hard at work, and he left his lunch there. If he's out working right now, then he's a man after my own heart, since he'll be in the fields the hottest part of the day. You think he would have been in his hammock having a siesta about now. More of these fields. I hear somebody. Some cows up ahead. A couple of young ones. And 3 of them. And then an adolescent maybe. Could that be mom? Pretty small for a mother. Oh yeah, must be. Calf is, all the calves are following her. And I guess they didn't like the look of me. Sorry to have chased them away from their shady spot here that they were enjoying. But that's the advantage when leaving the trees, of course. You get all this beautiful shade. That's kind of my takeaway from this walk, is the trees, or the lack of trees. And what it means for these fields to have all the trees cut down. Would it have been better to keep the trees there or not? One more small rise ahead of me to conquer, and then I think that will be the end of my stroll. I'll turn around and head back to my scooter. I haven't seen much in the way of wildlife. I haven't seen anything really other than the cows. No monkeys, no lizards, no snakes. A couple of butterflies, and that's about it. I reached the top of this little hill. Take a look over the edge here, and then I think it's time to turn around. And if you keep going in that direction into the hills, you eventually reach the border with the next province. We're still in Tak province right here. And then you go into kind of a national park area, I think. And then there's the border between this province and the next province over. This is looking back in the direction that I just came from. That ridge is what I walked along there. Oh, here comes somebody on a motorcycle or scooter. Suppose if I were so inclined, I could have ridden my scooter up here. But it's been a very interesting walk. Time for a drink. Just in case anyone was wondering, does this guy eat? Does he ever drink? I occasionally eat, and I occasionally drink as well. There you have it. Proof. I hydrate time to time. And yeah, speaking of water, makes me think of that village again. I haven't seen any water tanks or anything up here. No water pipes going down to the village, so of course they could get all the water they could possibly need right from the river. And wouldn't they have to have some sort of a pumping station to pump the water up to the village and to the houses? I didn't see any kind of a pumping mechanism anyway. Questions. Where do you get your water from? Here's another farmer's shelter or shack or whatever you would like to call it. Oh, and this one really has nothing in it at all. So possibly all the items that were inside that shack right now are there just because the farmer is out here working today. Maybe he brought it all with him today and then he'll bring it all back to the house at the end of the day so nobody makes off with it. This guy on the motorcycle disappeared. Kind of lost track of him when he arrived at this shelter up ahead. I thought maybe he was stopping there, but I think there's another road goes down to the left. Oh no, there's the motorcycle right there. So that Honda Click made it up the hill. From here, I'm going to do a quick map check and get an exact bearing on where I was yesterday, because I'm not exactly sure which of these peaks was the lookout point. It might have been that one there that I climbed or rode up to, and then this other one is the one that you would have to climb up to. I'll do a quick map check. Yes, I was right. I'm facing directly at the viewpoint where I went yesterday. I lined it up to be directly behind this tree here. So that's where I was yesterday. And then this other one over here, slightly more pronounced bump. That's the other viewpoint that you have to climb up to. Yeah, mountains and hills can be very confusing. I've long since given up any idea that I'm any kind of master navigator. I know from experience that once you get me hiking through mountains or hills, I completely lose track of where I am. My internal compass goes completely wonky. And the only way to really find my way would be with a map and actual compass and landmarks. I get turned around in the hills very quickly. Such a pastoral scene. From all the way down there on the flats by the river, I can hear all the bells, the cowbells. Not sure if the GoPro can pick up the sound of them, but they're quite clear. At this point, to be honest, I don't really even need to continue my journey, up this road on the scooter, but I think I'm going to anyway, just to follow it to the end, see what's there. But this little detour into the village and this farming country is pretty much the experience I was looking for when I set off this morning. So don't really need to go much farther, but I will anyway. Have steed with two wheels will continue. One thing, it'd be really nice if this village had some kind of a tea shop or someplace like that. But I didn't see anything like that. Just to sit down and get a cup of tea and see if anyone from the village wants to have a chat with the strange foreigner that came wandering through with his GoPro. I was thinking that the only way to really learn about society in these villages and how the economics works and all the social relationships would be to live here for a while, spend a long time. But even then, I know from some experience that it's not that straightforward. Even living here as a foreigner, you would still have a great deal of difficulty figuring out just the basics of how life works here, how people relate to each other. If you had strong language skills, that would be the key, of course. If you learn Thai, or maybe the main language here is not even Thai, it could be one of the other languages. I don't even know that. But of course, without any language ability, you wouldn't be able to wander around those streets and ask anybody any questions. And even then, I often find that any questions I might ask would be coming from my own cultural background and my own assumptions. And quite often, even the questions I might ask would be missing the mark completely. And even if they answered them, I wouldn't be any further along in terms of understanding life here. I'm not saying that life here is so dramatically foreign or different from life in an equivalent, farming community in Canada. Of course it is different, but I don't want to give the impression that I think I'm dealing with an alien civilization out here. But there's certainly a lot of day-to-day activities and traditions that would take some effort to understand. Heading back down this hill now, and certainly get a sense again of just how steep it is, so that Honda Click would definitely have to work pretty hard to make it up this slope. Having to walk very carefully here because it is quite steep. Taking teeny little steps. Feels like my sandals could slide out from under me at any point. There are my tiny little baby steps. Just arriving back at the outer edges of this village. I wonder how much of a challenge this hill is to one of these chopper tractors, or do they have enough power that they just effortlessly roar up those that steep road. Still a very cool looking machine. And one thing I've learned over the years too is that you can't really make assumptions about too many things. I remember visiting lots of places like this in the Philippines and in Indonesia and other places, and it would turn out that the people that live here would have the farming house, such a one of these, but then they would also have another place in the city. This might not be their only home. They could come out here to farm at certain times of the year and then go back to their house in the city at other times of the year. Their lives can be quite a bit more complicated than you would think, just looking at it from the outside. I'm still on the hunt for water pipes and water containers. Where does the water come from? Yeah, this kind of a latrine shower situation here has, I can see a tap in there with a water hose. So they have pressurized water in there. And there's a big blue. Uh-oh. I scared this little guy, I think. I freaked him out. I got between him and his mother. And here's a village shop. Oh yeah, I've got a cooler in there. And right over there I see another tap with a hose on it. So it's probably pressurized water as well. And I'm back at the scooter. I didn't intend to leave it here baking in the sun for quite this long, but it's been waiting patiently for me. Time to hop back on and continue down the road and say goodbye to this interesting village. All right, back on the scooter, turning around. Ah. feel that nice cooling breeze just from moving on the scooter again. Oh, keep forgetting that I have to adjust my microphone placement between when I'm carrying it in my hand and when I have it on the scooter. I have to put it in a more secure mounting point when I'm driving. Otherwise, all the bouncing will shake it out of its mount. Back on the main road, turning right would take me back to Umphang, and now just going deeper into the river valley. Well, there's a steep little section of road. I just thought I'd stop here for a second. Just a nice vantage point on this road. And that, of course, is where the road continues on deeper into the river valley. And of course, the fields directly below us there would again be rice fields. And at some point, when the rice season begins, they'll flood those fields, plant them with rice, and this whole valley will be a brilliant green. Check this out, a delivery truck, Best Express. On the side of the truck there, it says something about deliveries everywhere. And yeah, they're not kidding. So you could even be way out here, order something online, and one of those trucks will come and deliver it right to your door. The modern world. Here's something of a landmark on this road. The Umphang Wildlife Sanctuary, Padotha Forest Ranger Station. Oh, look at that. And we're right at another bridge across the river. quick change of plan. I don't think I'm going to continue all the way to the end of the road. It's getting quite rough, and the scenery I don't think is going to change very much between what I've seen and what's ahead of me. And I'm way out in the middle of nowhere, so I feel like I could be risking, flat tire or breakdown way out here, and it could be quite an adventure trying to get back to Mesot. So I think the wiser course of action is to end my little journey into the river valley here, turn around and head back to Umphang. Okay, back in Umphang. Got my scooter parked here, found it a nice shady spot to keep it out of that sun, which is really beating down today. You don't feel it that much, of course, when you're riding the scooter, but once you get off, whew, that is a powerful sun today. And it's mid-afternoon now, and I thought I would head back to, fittingly, the Sun restaurant for a bowl of their boat noodles. Really like I've only had the boat noodles there once so far in my time here in Umphang, but I really liked it. And I want to take advantage of that place and go back for another bowl today. I don't know if I mentioned it on my last visit there, but it was quite pleasant to be there yesterday because there were other people in the restaurant, and that was such a unusual experience. For the past year, all the restaurants that I visited have pretty much been empty, and it makes me it does make me reluctant to go into them because there's nobody else in there, and I feel like me going in there, just one person sitting down at a table, I feel like I'm bothering them, you know what I mean? I'm kind of reluctant to go into a restaurant when it's completely empty. I don't even know if they're open, and I don't know what's going on. But yesterday, because it was a Saturday, there were actually a bunch of tourists in town. A bunch of people anyway. So when I went into the Sun restaurant, there were about 4 or 5 groups of people all sitting at different tables. And it was such a nice feeling to be in a restaurant filled with other people. I didn't talk to anybody that was there, but it sort of felt like I was back in society again. Hanging out with people and listening to all the chatter around me. It was just nice, and just a nice atmosphere. I haven't really had that for a long time. And today is Sunday, still the weekend, so maybe there's a whole bunch of people at the Sun today as well. Find out. This is the Umphang version of a traffic jam. 2 trucks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 motorcycles, 6 motorcycles. 8, 9 motorcycles, definitely a traffic jam. But since I already featured the inside of the Sun restaurant and my bowl of boat noodles on my last visit, I don't think I will keep my camera rolling for this lunch experience. I think I will end my video of today's small adventures here with my drive into the river valley. I really enjoyed that. That was a refreshing, enjoyable experience just to head out into the countryside a little bit, go for a stroll through some farmers' fields, and just to take a look around. Yeah, it was very, very nice indeed. So that's it, as I said, for today's small adventures. And I guess I'm driving back to Mesot tomorrow so that I can go to immigration the next day and begin the process of hopefully getting another visa extension. Fingers crossed. And I'll see how that works out. I don't know whether I will record my journey back to Mesot tomorrow, but we'll see how that goes. In any event, I will see you in the next video.